Hello, it's Ted Ritzer. I'm the host of the Greening Government Webinar Speaker Series. The speaker series is a collaboration between my department, Alberta Environment and Parks, the Alberta Climate Change Office, and the Municipal Climate Change Action Centre. The goals of the speaker series are to help in reducing the carbon footprint of governments and to also support their shift to a green economy. The series today is very fortunate in that we have a speaker from the World Bank, Max Atkins. He's with the program lead for the Connect4Climate program. Max, you guys are doing some incredible things. I'm just blown away by your use of social media and very innovative approaches to communication, and also use of filmmaking. What you guys are doing is just incredible.
Thank you so very much, Ted, and thank you also to obviously the organizations behind the webinar series. Yeah, no, it's an exciting time, and it's really a time of opportunity and a time of getting involved in the transition to a low carbon and resilient future. The science is clear, the political will is basically there, and increasingly we're getting, cities, states, regions, and leadership from all levels of life are really wanting to create this low carbon resilient future. We do think that communication is key to creating that enabling environment to allow for the finance to flow, to allow for leaders to make bold decisions, and really to help get the societal mass behind the key decisions that we need to build to reduce our carbon footprints and also to help build the resilience to future climate impacts. So Ted, should I go ahead and introduce the Connect4Climate program?
Absolutely, Max.
All right, great. Thank you, everybody, and thanks for listening and thanks for tuning in. So the Connect4Climate program is a global partnership program here at the World Bank. It's really founded on the knowledge and the engagement of its partner network. We've got more than 450 partners now who are contributing with knowledge, contributing with opportunities, and sharing their experiences and their events around driving climate action and really promoting climate solutions. We are a trust fund here at the bank, and our three main objectives are to raise awareness around the impacts of climate change as well as the opportunities in climate action, to really promote commitment among the public, private sector, and policymakers. So that's really getting that movement for climate action going, and then to build coalitions, because it's not really us who are solving the climate issue, but it's really everybody else out there, and we just want to help create a platform to showcase the great work that everybody else is doing. So in the words of Jim Kim, the president of the World Bank, Connect4Climate is important because we have to take the struggle to a different level. What we need is a social movement that will finally and for once get serious about tackling this epidemic. We've got to connect on an emotional level. That is the whole purpose of Connect4Climate. And it's really that emotional level that we're trying to key into. We want to try and encourage behavioral change, and the best way of doing that is to do it with feelings, to create an emotional narratives that people can pick up, because we know the science is clear, we know the climate impacts are there, but we also know that the opportunities are there and the solutions are there. Now is the time for action. There's a quick timeline for you to come back to if you want to see where we have come from. We basically launched in 2009 and started our first activities in 2011 with a African-focused youth competition. And over the years, we've just grown and been part of the exciting climate movement that is happening in every corner of this world. And we're just very grateful to be a part of that process. So today we are a methodology for global engagement. We aim to connect and amplify using a lot of the social media and multimedia tools available. We aim to engage the private sector because we've realized that private sector leadership is also key to solving the climate challenge. And we aim to tap into the rich potential of global youth as well as influential leaders. So that's giving a voice to the young people, helping them bring their message to the UN, to the World Bank, as well as to the private sector as conscious consumers. And working with influential leaders to use their reach and their influence, whether they're celebrities or business leaders or public leaders. We wish to work with them and help spread that message for climate action and for protecting our common home, our planet. And all of this is in line with the World Bank's Climate Action Plan that aims to work with client countries as well as the private sector to speed up this transition to the low carbon resilient future that we need. Overall, we've got three main business lines. We work on research and capacity building. We also work on advocacy and fund leveraging, which is the area where we're probably best known for, and that's where we use the Connect4Climate brand. We also support World Bank operations around training and climate communication toolkits. But let me zone in a little bit on our advocacy work, where we've come up with quite a creative strategy to help spread the climate message. So we have 8 main advocacy initiatives that focus on the influential industries. So we work with music, film, sports, and fashion. But then we also use young people and the voices of today's generation and the next generation to help message that urgent call for climate action. We also work with leaders, and that's the Leaders for Climate initiative, to help spread the messages through their reach. So again, those are celebrities or leaders within the private sector. Then we really want to emphasize the solutions within cities because that's the greatest growth area, and about 70% of our greenhouse gas emissions come from cities. And finally, we see innovation as being key to helping transform our economy and shift it to one that is low carbon. We then have 2 more knowledge-orientated initiatives. That's the solutions and knowledge initiatives, because we're all about solutions, less about impacts. And here, just to get us going, let me play you our campaign trailer, which gives you a bit of a taste of our creativity and the kind of people that we work with. So here we go.
Hey, climate change is hot. It is so hot.
We are custodians of this planet. It's our duty to give the future what the youngsters hear this call. One, and
this is the only way that we have.
We all live in different corners, but in the same world. In that
planet can no longer wait.
This is a revolution before we become the victims of our own evolution. Give your contribution, Mother Earth is on her knees. So please stand up and say with me.
It's time, everybody. It's time to rally. It's time to raise the tin.
We are no longer leaders of tomorrow. We are leaders of today.
So yeah, that gave you a bit of a taste of all the different kind of work that we're involved in. We've covered the globe in that we've sorry, the next video.
What is it about this place?
We've covered the globe through our youth competitions. We've brought young voices to the UNFCCC conferences as well as to the World Bank. We've worked with faith and business leaders but to really make this happen. At the core of Connect4Climate's work is really our global partnership program, and that's where we have more than 450 partners, ranging from most of the UN organizations to some of the big NGOs, a lot of the small NGOs, some academic, as well as some media organizations. So it's really a wide spectrum, and of course not to forget the private sector partners that we work with. So just to emphasize a little bit the Youth for Climate initiative, and that's really inspiring young people to take up the challenge and to make their voices heard. So we leverage the power of social media, and we've built up some quite strong communication channels through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, as well as other ones like Pinterest and LinkedIn. And these we keep very active by running challenges and competitions where young people can send in their videos as well as their messages through photographs or essays. And we help bring these voices to the international audiences, as well as the business and public sector leaders, to really inspire them and ensure that the transformative leadership that is needed to tackle climate change does take place, spurred by the energy of today's youth. So it's the leaders who need to also be bold, and they need to take a stance on climate change. And that's where we've celebrated leadership like that of the Pope, our own leadership of Jim Kim, leadership from the UNFCCC, as well as other UN organizations, and leadership from the private sector and celebrities. And it's those voices that we like to work with, and that we are very grateful to for putting their leadership into the public sphere and showing us the right way on how to do this. So as an example of that, one of our biggest events to date was Fiat Lux, our Illuminating Our Common Home. And that's where we worked with a coalition of partners to project images on the Vatican. So just to give you a taste of what that looked like, let me show you this video, which is a quick summary of those projections. as you can see, this was a historical first. It was the first time that the Vatican was ever projected on. It was the first time that imagery was put up onto the facade of St. Peter's Basilica. And it was really through the leadership of Pope Francis that we were able to do this. We thank him for his leadership with Laudato Si, and also for the leadership of the Vatican to be foresighted enough to allow for this spectacle to happen and to put their weight and their energy behind it. We also thank, obviously, the partners who helped pull this off, including Vulcan, the Li Ka-shing Foundation, as well as Obscura Digital. And it was staged to really pick up on the messages of the Pope's Laudato Si on protecting our common home and taking action on climate change, and deliver his message to the 21 climate conference in Paris, which, as you probably all know, resulted in the Paris Climate Change Agreement and is the foundation of all climate action going forward. This was one of our biggest achievements yet in terms of media coverage, in terms of outreach. Most media channels picked up images of the animals and the people projected on the Vatican. But it's not only leaders, it's leaders within the influential industries that we aim to work with. So with music, we've worked with Eminem in the past. We ran youth competitions that allowed for music videos to be submitted. And we also work with the Global Poverty Project and Earth Day to celebrate Earth Day in 2015 on the National Mall here in Washington, D.C. with a concert and commitments put forward through leaders and artists to an audience of about 300,000. And that was really to show the public support for climate action right in front of the White House under Barack Obama. Then fashion, we know, is one of the biggest consumer industries in the world. Fast fashion is having a huge impact on both the environment and climate change. But there is a growing movement to sustainable fashion, to using climate smart agriculture in the cotton production of fashion. And it's those kind of trends that we support. We also realize that the fashion industry can relay strong messages to the wide consumer base that they have. With sports, we work with athletes to get them to commit to being ambassadors and messengers for climate action, as well as trying to reduce their own carbon footprints. We also work with the industry to help put out guidelines on how to reduce carbon emissions from events, as well as from the industry supply chain. And we've been part of the Rio Olympics. We've also organized a match for peace with the Pope. And we have a number of sports ambassadors who help share that message for climate action. Then cities, we really do realize that a lot of the development taking place around the world is around cities. And it's really these new low carbon resilient cities that we need to build. So we need to inspire young people, and that's why we work with Lego to help build the future cities. We've also been working with rural communities and running city orientated challenges, like, for example, with the New Cities Foundation. Finally, innovation is really the key to what can be done around technological solutions to climate change. It's innovation within the energy industry, so it's a move away from fossil fuels to solar panels, to wind farms, to hydro, to all other renewable energy forms. There's also innovation within each consumer industry. So we need innovation in fashion, we need innovation in design, we need innovation in processes where steel can also be low carbon, and there are examples of this happening in Sweden. We need innovation in transport, we need innovation in all different aspects of what our modern lifestyles are. And then finally, it's the film industry that has a big influence on society, and that's where we've really grown our strength over the last couple of years to working with visuals to help relay that emotional storytelling experience of opportunity to showcase climate solutions and how people are implementing the actions that are needed, as well as taking the leadership required to help solve this generation's challenge. And we've worked with a lot of large film productions over the last couple of years. We create opportunities to showcase these films. We also put forward a global charter at COP21 on greening the film industry. And again, we advise the industry on how to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from productions, festivals, as well as the supply chain, so as to help such an influential industry to also lead the way in creating that low carbon and resilient future. So maybe just some examples of this. So the Film for Climate Global Video Competition was a video competition that we ran in the lead up to COP 22 in Morocco last year. We received over 800 submissions from 155 countries, and really felt like this was a global youth voice putting forward their call for climate solutions. So let us watch the trailer and hear from the young people themselves how they feel about climate change.
I'm singing this song because of the love of goodness. I love what I see. Mother Earth, you are beautiful.
I loved you since before I can remember.
Well, global warming is really happening.
This is the actual rate we are adding carbon dioxide gas to the atmosphere.
Your CO2 emissions.
You have a limited amount of time to resolve it, and it concerns everyone.
Climate change to me is really an opportunity for us as a collective society, that way we want to move forward to.
We need truly to transform our economy, protect our security, and save our planet from the debate of climate change.
Safe energy.
What we need is a lot more photosynthesis.
Put a price on carbon now. Charging for every tonne released would help carbon junkies break the habit, and we'd have cash to spend on new ways to avoid global warming.
Climate change is a combined effort.
Start now. Start today.
When enough people come together, we too will make waves and wash the world into a new era filled with love and connection, freedom for all without oppression. But it is up to you, yes, you watching this behind this screen, to make the effort, because time is of the essence, and only together can we make it.
Are you ready to reconnect and reconcile?
So it's very clear that young people know that climate change is happening. They also know that the solutions are there and that opportunities are there. Underlying message that really came out of most of the videos was that we need to come together, that we need to work on this global issue as a joint force, and that everybody within their own right is able to contribute to the solution in whatever way they can. This was very well received at the climate conference in Marrakesh, and we were also able to celebrate the young filmmakers there with an award ceremony, which was wonderful to have done. Let me also show you the Action for Climate competition. So Action for Climate, we ran that in 2014, also as a youth competition. And we were fortunate to work with private sector partners to help bring these young voices to one of the busiest squares in the world, to Times Square. So this is the
Well, I try to do anything I can possibly. My action for climate is to use a car less and to ride bikes more.
My act for climate is to have a friendly household product.
My action for climate change is to consume less animal products.
My act for climate change is to use less cars.
My action for climate is to ride my bike.
My action for climate change is taking the subway.
We've got to get serious. We've got to connect on an emotional level. The young people here today know that they're going to be living in a time that's unrecognizable today. We have to listen to them. We have to listen to the scientists, but we have to connect.
So really, what is your action for climate? That's very much the message we also, as a community, try to put out there, that we need to work together and everybody can do their bit. So moving right along, Ted also asked me to talk a little bit about the All for the Green experience earlier this year. So we worked with the Italian Ministry for Environment to stage a week of activation in the lead up and through the G7 Environment Ministers meeting in Bologna in Italy. So for a week from June 5th, we had over 80 events taking place across the city. These were varied events from launching newest knowledge and reports at the university, to art exhibitions and sculpture presentations, to youth engagement, to nature walks, to SDG kind of digital media zone, to private sector announcements, to renewable energy powered film screenings, to mobility activities, including electric vehicle charging stations and bicycles. So it's really the broad spectrum of activities to really make Bologna the capital of environment for a week and showcase that even in such an ancient city, climate solutions can be integrated and can be presented. So over the whole week, we had more than 120 million impressions on Twitter, on Facebook, because we ran a digital media zone that connected also with the UN during that period. We reached more than 1.4 million people live with our Facebook live videos. To launch the whole week, there was a concert for Earth with Ezio Bosso, and that happened on World Environment Day to really help share that message to a global audience. Then every evening there were solar-powered film screenings in Piazza Maggiore, which is really the epicenter of Bologna, on Europe's biggest open-air cinema screen. We thank Building Energy for providing that solar energy. There are youth engagements, nature walks. There were also tree planting activities and re-greening efforts in the city to help build that low-carbon resilient future. We also staged an interfaith dialogue with the main outcome of that dialogue being a joint statement by all the different faiths requesting for more urgent and ambitious action on climate change as well as environmental protection. So let me give you a quick insight on how the digital zone, which we call the SDG Media Zone, happened in the city of Bologna and also linked up with the UN Ocean Week, which happened at the same time in New York. So here's a quick summary of that.
Every one of us, we have stories. Try to link those stories to what we're speaking about now, because then it is easier for you to take the actions.
It's a great afternoon here in Bologna. We are at the G7 week, All for the Green.
Un grande messaggio a tutto il mondo. Bologna vuole essere in questi giorni la capitale mondiale dell'ambiente.
We're in New York where it's the morning time. Happy World Oceans Day, everybody.
This is the time when we turn the tide on the degradation of the ocean.
We're here for the blue and all for the green.
We need to work together, because if we don't, we're not going to be able to make real change and solve these problems.
We know we've got some problems, but we also have solutions.
We had the largest screen outdoor in Europe, and it was powered by the sun.
Instead of being scared of the future, we should be embracing it.
It was really exciting to be able to link both the UN Ocean Conference as well as Bologna All for the Green Week, and show that action is taking place both on the ocean and marine environment as well as on the natural and terrestrial environment, and together protecting both life above the ocean and life below the ocean. We're able to also contribute to the climate solutions and help achieve the sustainable development goals. It was really an exciting week, and the outcome was very much that, again, we need to ramp up our activities. We need to be excited about the future that we're building, and that's the message that we're taking forward now to COP23 in Bonn under the presidency of the Fijians, with this message of being uniting for climate action. So that we are uniting around climate action, and we launched a campaign and encourage everybody to help join that with the hashtag Uniting for Climate. This slide actually needs to be updated to reflect that. We will be announcing the campaign during Climate Week coming up in New York. And we're running a virtual reality competition that is being announced in 3 days' time at the Venice Film Festival in Italy. So please look out for that and join us in this call of being united, and that we all want to, that we are uniting around climate action. And just to summarize in short, why we do this is because if we don't confront climate change, we won't be able to end poverty. And here at the World Bank, our two goals are to end poverty and promote shared prosperity. We see climate change and being able to tackle climate change as fundamental to the world's development, to our ambitions to end poverty. And we see the opportunities in the climate solutions and how those can drive shared prosperity, and how those can help build a more prosperous, engaged, peaceful, low carbon, resilient future. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to this presentation, and I'm open for any questions that you might have.
So if folks would like to pose the questions through the Q&A window, That was a fantastic presentation, Max. It was just excellent.
Thank you, Ted. I mean, there's a lot to talk about, and it's actually difficult to summarize all the activities that we've been a part of and that we are helping with our partners to get out there.
Well, just while folks are thinking about questions, Max, somewhere I think I read that through the use of Facebook Live, you guys engaged 1.5 million people. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So that was for the whole week in Bologna. We had a series of Facebook Live discussions where we encourage our partners who are participating in the week and who are also staging their own events and putting up their own activities that week. For example, we had a discussion with Building Energy, who provided the solar energy for the film screenings, as well as contributed to the electric vehicle charging stations that were left behind in the city for future use. So we ran about 70 live interviews on Facebook and managed to reach 1.5 million people.
No, that's incredible. So you also have this incredible global reach, and you've really captured the imagination of global youth, Max. I'm trying to the volume that you have just in terms of videos that you guys have posted is in the hundreds, correct?
Absolutely, and that's where we use the social media and multimedia tools, because those are our new tools of communication now. So when we run a video competition, we really do try and spread it out to every corner of the world and encourage everybody with a cell phone or a little camera to help to share their experience around climate change and around implementing the climate solutions. So yeah, so our last competition saw more than 850 videos altogether. Since we've been running competitions since 2011, I'm sure we've got videos in the thousands now. So it's very much a global voice sharing their call to action and sharing their individual activities and the individual solutions that they are driving forward. And it's really those kind of messages that we get inspired by and that will allow for the global transition to a low carbon resilient future.
Max, well, I was also thinking about your mention of the use of virtual reality. That's just a really innovative next step for you guys.
It is indeed, and that is our strategy as the Connect4Climate program, is that we aim to be aligned with the newest developments and to work with our partners from the creative industries to see what new technologies they are working with and how we can leverage those to help share the climate message and the message around the Sustainable Development Goals. So virtual reality is basically the new kid on the block in the film industry. So we're partnering now with the Venice International Film Festival, where they, for the first time, are creating a platform to allow for more financial support and production support of virtual reality. They're also taking virtual reality into consideration in their competition of in the official competition of the festival, which is very symbolic of the fact that virtual reality is becoming a new film medium. So we want to be part of that trend and help that trend grow ensure that the messages that come out of that are also relating to building a sustainable future. And that's why we're running the Uniting for Climate VR/360 video competition, which is being announced now on the 3rd. And we encourage everybody to present their ideas for what a VR video should look like. We then will evaluate those through a jury that is also being announced, and choose the winning proposal, and with a production company actually make that VR film early next year, so that we can also then show and bring a new VR product to the market that'll inspire global action.
Well, that's incredible, Max. I would just ask folks one last time if they would like to submit any questions through the online Q&A window. But I mean, and next step for you guys from virtual reality is augmented reality.
That's actually true, and I can't announce much about this, but we do have some plans around augmented reality and a transmedia gaming experience. So we're looking for sponsor partners to come on board and help build basically a climate solutions gaming experience. Think of Pokemon Go, but for climate change. So if you're interested and you have the funds and would want to contribute to that, give me a call.
Well, we'll put the word out to any of our Canadian developers, Max.
That sounds great.
Well, this has been such an incredible presentation, Max. I'm so grateful to you for taking the time to present.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
And thanks for all the energy you put into this webinar series. And we really appreciate the opportunity and look forward to working with you in the future.
Absolutely. Same here, Max. Thanks so much for presenting.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, take care now.